Welcome back to the Culture of Currency on this 4th of July. This is a day about freedom. As we know, this is a day about declaring our independence. If you are from the States, you know this. If you are not from the States, one of my viewers from Australia, Singapore, wherever you're tuning in from, this is a very important day in the history of our nation as it celebrates the day we became the Stars and Stripes. Obviously not quite as many stars as you see here, but we had the stripes, the 13 colonies, which basically was a declaration of independence from England, as many of you historians know. And in getting into that, as you see here, beautiful silver, I wanted to talk to you about something that actually deals with what we love here on the Culture of Currency, these silver coins, and that has to do with freedom. Freedom is the very, very intrinsic part of humanity that causes us to do great good and honestly sometimes not so good, chasing what we believe to be freedom. And so it is a double-edged sword a little bit, but it is mostly amazing if you can get to the point where freedom is seen clearly and you understand it and you walk it. Because freedom, though yes, sometimes requires a fight, sometimes it requires doing things incredibly brave. If you get down to the actual brass tacks, it's a mindset. It's the ability to make choices and have actions without fear of any type of repercussion. That's what freedom really is. The idea that I can do something in spite of impending doom. I will do something because I know it to be real or true, despite what others might think. We are social creatures. We love to be in the group. And so doing things that excommunicate us from a group have incredible difficulties, let's say. And it is easy to track. So for example, if you are a junior high student, let's say you're 13 years old, your autonomy is really developed amongst your peers. It scares you, it frightens you to death to be excommunicated from those in popular groups. And so we want to wear, certain clothes. We want to have certain amount of clout. We want to be able to talk in ways that are recognizable by the people that we are trying to assimilate with. We are crippled with the idea that we might not be cool enough or pretty enough or whatever. And those isolated mindsets are what keep you from being free. Because if, let's say, you saw somebody hurt, would you actually do something about it if those people around you that you are trying to chase, as far as their influence, would look upon you negatively for it? Would you still do the right thing? That's a hard thing for a young mind to actually do, which is why we have such problems at that age with bullying and harassment and all those things. Now, when you get older, things tend to be a bit more clear because you can, for the most part, define who you really are, at least in theory, and so it becomes easier to feel like you have your own autonomy and that you are more free. But even with being an adult, we notice in society that mindset is often forfeit, or it is clouded because of the fear of something else, the fear of losing your job, the fear of being canceled, as we saw cancel culture being so prevalent these past couple of years. So the idea of freedom really comes with a mindset that says, I'm going to do what I think to be right in spite of all other consequences. And that is something that many of us can do independently in small actions, but when it comes to large actions with big consequences, we tend to shudder a little bit, which is normal. That fear sets in, but the freedom would be you choosing what you think you want to do regardless, because that's the only freedom we have is choice. Somebody can grab you and put you in a box. You cannot stop them if they are bigger than you, have more weapons or whatever, but you can decide how you want to respond. That is the only thing that is truly free, is how we respond to the inputs we're given, to the information that we have. And that's why I find it to be such a hard time. It's hard for us to make no matter where you are in the world, it's hard for us to make free decisions because the inputs that we have are not readily available to us. The ability to get true information, whether it's through the media or anyone else, is limited, unfortunately. You would think with the advancement of technology, we would have more transparency, but what it seems is that with the advancement of technology, we get less transparency, which means we're not given the ability to have the best information to make the best decisions, which limits freedom. Because we're not honestly able to act in a way that we think is correct, because then when we do, 3 years later, when we find something to be true, we have to question our actions and try to figure out if they still fall within the bounds. Obviously, you have good intention and things like that, but without the best information, it's hard to stay within the confines of freedom. We need good transparency and good information so that we know where our morals and values truly lie and why. And if we have those, it's much easier and much more admirable to be truly free. And so on this 4th of July, with my silver out in front of you that is constitutional, that has the great history of this land, I wanted to throw that out there because this is a nation that, though it is not perfect, we know that. I find that the core people, not necessarily government, but the core people aspire to be free. And I think that the biggest thing that we have is a difference in perception. We don't see each other the same. We don't incur data the same. And so therefore we draw lines and we shout at each other rather than looking at each other and bringing each other together in spite of our differences. So if we can hopefully get to a point where our transparency is better, then we can see each other better and hopefully empathize with each other better and hopefully become one again. Because as you know, on the back of many notes and coins, e pluribus unum, out of many one, is stated. And that is something that I still believe is there in part in America, but it's nowhere near where it used to be. Events like 9/11 are incredibly unfortunate, but those are the moments that give America the opportunity to respond together en masse. And we see some of the most beautiful moments in how we respond to things that are put in front of us, because once again, that's the only freedom that is truly alive, is our ability to respond, our ability to choose in spite of any obstacles. And so when we stood up on 9/11 and said, no, this is not how things run here, that was a united front to say this is where we stand. Obviously, there's so many complexities about events like that, once the dust settles, we go right back to bickering and arguing about why it happened and who said what and go on, so on and so forth. But that is, once again, a moment that gives me hope that we can be united again. Hopefully, it doesn't have to get to such devastating levels before that happens, but that is kind of what I see. So on this 4th of July, I want to challenge you to think about your freedom, think about your ability to act without fear, to do what you think is true and right, and honor that as our founding fathers did, as many great people around us do in our communities, down the street, maybe at a church. Maybe there's somebody who challenges people at a city hall meeting in a way that you find appropriate. I don't know what it is around you, but if you are aware and you have intention, you will start to see things and you will have the strength to do things. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all your support. Please bless our troops and anyone who is actively helping us maintain freedom. Some of them hold rifles and wear camouflage. Some of them hold Bibles. Some of them are just single mothers trying to do their part to raise their children. They're all around us. Find them and praise them on this 4th of July.